1 minute more.
Okay.
Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite aos internautas que nos acompanham neste programa Nanotecnologia do Avesso. Hoje, no seu número 415. Fazemos este programa dedicado ao público não especialista, porque é este público que paga as pesquisas sobre nanotecnologia realizadas no Brasil. Também fazemos este programa porque é aqui que nós podemos discutir os impactos da nanotecnologia na sociedade, na economia, no meio ambiente, na ética, na saúde, coisas que não são discutidas aonde se faz nanotecnologia no Brasil. Por fim, fazemos este programa porque acreditamos que ser livre é ser bem informado e a divulgação científica contribui, colabora com o aprofundamento da democracia e da cidadania no Brasil. Conforme tínhamos anunciado, estamos em contato com o professor James Tour, diretamente da Universidade de Rice, em Houston, Estados Unidos, com quem nós vamos hoje poder ouvir muito sobre a questão dos nanocarros. Okay, Professor James Tour, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is James Tour. I'm a professor of chemistry and working in the area of nanotechnology at Rice University in Houston, Texas.
Okay, you can tell for us your experience with nanotechnology.
Right, so we started working in nanotechnology actually quite some time ago in 1988. We began our first project to build molecular electronic systems. These were intended to have single molecules as electronic devices. And we started that project in 1988, published our first paper in the area in 1989. So we've been working in this area actually almost 30 years, long before the term nanotechnology was being used. Now that term was around, but it wasn't used very much, and it wasn't until about 10 years after that the term nanotechnology started being used quite a lot. And it was in about around 1998 that we started in this area of nanocars, where we had this idea that we would build single molecule vehicles that would have would be a single molecule, where you could have a chassis and fully rotating axles, and where we could have wheels on those systems. And that was our idea, that we would build those and then see if we could drive those across surfaces. So that started around 1988, but because of the complexity of the work, we did not publish our first paper in the area until 2005. So we started around 1998 with the synthesis of the nanocars, which we completed in about 4 years, and then it took us another 2 years to do the imaging and publish our first paper. So we published our first paper in the area of nanocars in about 2005.
So you have a long experience with nanocars.
That's right. We have a long experience. That's given us an advantage over other people because we really understood now the types of wheels and the types of axles that work well, and we've built so many different models of them that this is what we do. And so just so that you have a better idea of what nanocars are, and how small they are, we depart 50,000 of them across the diameter of a human hair. So if you take a human hair and 50,000 of them across the diameter of a human hair, so they're really quite small. Now somebody asked the question, why do you want a car so small when you can get a big car? You can get actually trucks that you can put large amounts of material in. Why would you even want a car? Well, the idea is this, that can we do bottom-up? I'm sorry?
This was my question. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, so what we think about is we think about bottom-up construction. How can you build things from the bottom up? Because if you think about it, if you want a table, you go out, you cut down a tree, and you make a table. That's a top-down construction. But could we build things from the bottom up so that you take small things and you put them together to become larger things? And that's primarily used in nature. So if you look at nature, that's how all natural systems are generally built. Where you have certain molecules that come together, and you might have some thermodynamic assembly, but the majority of the assembly is done by enzymes in nature, in natural systems, and enzymes are nature's nanomachines. So could we come up with nanomachines where we're using those to do construction not of a natural system, but of unnatural systems? So in other words, could we build computer chips by just releasing vehicles and have the vehicles build them, and we can just give controlling voltage pulses from the exterior, for example. This is what we had intended on doing. And so that in 100 years or 200 years, we would be able to build even skyscrapers this way, where the molecules, the nanocars come and pick up atoms and molecules, and they put those together, much like enzymes put together the tree. That can grow quite large. In fact, you might say, well, natural systems, when you build from the bottom up, are quite slow. They don't have to be slow because there are some strains of bamboo that can grow about a meter tall, 1 meter tall in a single day, 1 meter per day. So natural systems actually can build quite fast if they like to. And so we set out with that in mind that we would build nanocars that way.
You think that these nanocars, similar things, there is a relationship with nanofabrication?
Yes, there is a relationship with nanofabrication. Because in nanofabrication, you are, again, building nanosystems. Generally, nanofabrication is looking at building things bottom up. In other words, taking nanoparticles and having them assemble into larger particles, not top-down construction. Now, certainly, the electronics industry is doing nanofabrication. If you look at the devices that they're building, they're all nano-sized. But again, that's top-down, where they're taking a large wafer of silicon and they're chipping away at it with light and chemical resist to make small features. That's top-down. Traditionally, nanofabrication is talked about taking small things and having them build upward. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and the 2 decades to do these things of the nanocar, you have some problem with the some special machine to do this?
Yes. So first we have to synthesize the nanocars. We have to make them, and we make them not just one at a time. We make them 10 to the 23rd at a time. So we make very large numbers. So 10 to the 23rd is a 1 with 23 zeros after it. So it's a very large number, but that's how many we make at a time. We make these using chemical processes where we take small molecules and build them up larger and larger. So what we first do is we build a chassis, and then we put on the axles, we put wheels on those axles. We learned a lot doing this. So when we first imaged these, as you were getting at, we had to use an imaging instrument, and we used what's called a scanning tunneling microscope.
Yeah.
And with a scanning tunneling microscope, you can image individual nanocars, and you can actually see the wheels separated from the chassis and separated by axles from the chassis, so you can actually image these. The initial work was all done under ultra-high vacuum at low temperature, and then we started warming it up, and it turned out the initial nanocars that we made did not roll, and that's because they would hit an object and were very rigid. Then we built another generation of nanocars where axles could spin 360 degrees relative to the chassis, so it could manipulate and go over one atom high asperities on the surface. And then we could heat the surface to about 170 degrees centigrade, and then nanocars started to move and they started to roll. And then we learned a lot about the rolling motion of nanocars through doing those experiments. And we built different kinds of wheels for different kinds of surfaces. And it turned out a very good kind of wheel that worked well for us was the wheel type that worked well for us was the wheel type that had C60 fullerene. That worked very well on gold. And the reason that worked very well on gold is that it didn't move too easily. In other words, you have to have, just as in a regular car, you have to have some friction between the wheel and the ground. If you have no friction, it's like a car on ice and you would have no control. And we realized the same thing with these nanocars. The interaction that we have with the surface we don't call friction at those dimensions. We didn't have electron transfer interaction between the fullerene wheels and gold surface. This electron transfer interaction turned out to be a value of about 2 electron volts, or about 45 kilocalories per mole. And that allowed it to stick fairly well to the surface, so that upon warming it didn't slide like a car on ice. It actually did roll, and the wheels were rolling around, so that the fullerene wheels worked quite well on gold. Then we went to other types of surfaces as well. So when we went to glass, the fullerene wheels didn't work very well, but we came up with other wheels called carburenes. Carburenes have a hydrogen bonding to the glass surface, because glass has OH groups projected up from it, and the hydrogen bonding allowed the carburene wheels to work very well.
Yeah, you think that in the near future will be possible to produce a nanocar in normal pressure and temperature?
Well, we can make these, we can make a lot at a time, so the question comes, will we be able to image these at room temperature? And the answer is yes. We've actually been doing that now. By switching to glass and using something called confocal microscopy, we're able to image these using confocal microscopy. And in that case, we have to put a dye molecule or a fluorophore molecule on the nanocar, and then it lights up and we can see it in those microscopes. And so we've now built many different models of nanocars that have, for example, self-assembling nanocars where we just built 2 halves, and they will self-assemble across, they will self-assemble the 2 halves into the full nanocar. We've also built nano trains where we take these what look like nano cars, but you chop it in half, so you just have a wheel with an axle with 2 wheels on it, and then we put bonding groups on each side, and we allow those to assemble them into long trains on the surface. You just put them on the surface, then they'll assemble into long trains. And so we've been able to make nano trains that way. But many people said, we really don't have a car until we have a motor. So then we started building motorized nanocars, and we used some cues from the literature. Ben Faringa had made some molecules that, when you shine light on them, they only spin in one direction. And that allowed us build those into the nanocars now, and so we could shine a light. The problem was that our first generation of nanocars, the motors only revolved at 1.8 revolutions per hour, so very slow.
Yeah.
But then we just changed the structure a little bit, again following cues from the literature, and then the motors could spin at 2 to 3 million rotations per second. So now we have a very fast rotating motor where they could spin at 2 to 3 million rotations per second just by shining a light. So you shine a light on the surface where these nanocars are, and the motors will start to spin. So we built those motorized versions, and then we built several different types of motorized nanocars. We built ones that had those types of motors. We built ones that could take a monomer and form a polymer where it's blowing polymer out the back of the nanocar, and that helps to push it along. And then
what is the central point to increase the velocity of the nanocar?
Well, right now, so I think the motors are very fast. What we need is we need to have the proper adhesion to the surface, because what happens is the surface binds to the nanocar too strongly. That's what slows it down. So the motor is very fast. You want to have a surface that is minimal binding, but it has to be sufficient binding that the nanocar is rolling and not sliding. Because if it's sliding, then it's again like a car on ice. It can go sideways, it can go forward, back, or sideways. And so that's not what we want to happen. We want to be able to have control, because in the future we'd like to use electrical fields to control the direction of the nanocars. So for example, if you have a DC field, you apply current in one direction, the nanocars will go in one direction. You reverse the bias, and the nanocars go in the other direction. It's much like in a city, where all cars are driving into the city in the morning, and then in the evening, all the cars are leaving the city after work.
Yeah.
So we can just reverse direction in that way. So that's what we're building toward now, to be able to have better dynamic control. And we've also built nanocars that have a loading bay and a handle that can pick up atoms. So there are trucks, I don't know what we call it. We call it a backhoe in English, the type of truck that can, for example, scoop up some dirt and move it and drop it back and forth. So we built nanocars with this sort of arm on them, where we want to be able to pick up a small molecule or an atom and move it to another site and then drop it off. That's what we'd like to be able to do. And so we built some of those. We haven't yet been able to demonstrate where they've been able to pick something up. But what we're moving toward now is also, well, before I get into the other types of nano machines that we're moving toward, I'll tell you about the nanocar race. We had a race with nanocars where several groups from around the world convened together in France, in Toulouse, and there were 6 teams from around the world converged in Toulouse, and they each designed their own nanocar. Then we took those nanocar designs and we had to put those on a surface, and then the surface, after you put some nanocars on the surface, then we had to make a track. And our track that we had to build had to be 150 nanometers long, and we had to have two atoms at different locations, because we had to drive around one atom and then around another atom and then to the finish line, and the total distance being 150 nanometers. Now, we had to go 150 nanometers. Our team coupled with another country from Austria. The Austrians did the driving. We designed the nanocar and built it. The Austrians did the driving of the nanocar, because they are experts in STM, and particularly low temperature STM, because the strictures on this race is that the surface had to be held at a very low temperature of about 5 Kelvin. So about minus 265 to 270, minus 270 degrees centigrade. So the surface had to be at a very low temperature.
And your team won this race.
I'm sorry?
Your team won this race.
Yes, we won the race. So we really had the fastest nano car because we've been building these things for since 1998. We've been building nano cars, so we knew exactly what type of axles to build, what the size of the nano car should be to optimize its speed, and the types of wheels that were necessary to optimize its speed. So you want the wheels to be able to stick, but not stick very much. And so all of those parameters helped us. And it turned out, using the conditions that were specified for the race, our car was much too fast. They were using gold surface, and our cars were uncontrollably too fast. So they didn't allow the electronics to be changed, so we had to change the surface. So instead of using gold surface, we used a silver surface. So silver slows you down. And the reason silver slows you down is because you have surface adsorbate, which means that there are molecules that will stick to the silver surface, and those become little obstacles that slow you down a little bit. And so we got penalized 50 nanometers. They said, okay, if you use silver, you have to be 50 nanometers longer in the race. So we had to go 150 nanometers. All the other racers on gold only had to go 100 nanometers. But still, we felt we could win. And I don't know why they penalized us, because we were running on a slower surface. But in any case, we knew we could win. And then, so it turned out that in about 1.5 hours, we were able to traverse the entire 150 nanometers. And the team from Switzerland came in second, but they came in 5 hours behind us.
Very different.
The difference was 5 hours.
Yes, very long difference.
Yeah, very big difference. So we were able to complete the race quite quickly, and then the Swiss team came in at 5 hours later, and none of the other teams was able to finish the race in the 30-hour period that was given. So we beat everybody by a lot. And a lot of that came because of two things. Number one, we had a very good design of the nanocar. We were able to build in all the design parameters needed for the nanocar to optimize its speed. Number two, we had very good parameters for operating, for driving the nanocar. So what happens by SDM, the slow step is always imaging, looking at your molecule. And so what the Austrians developed was a pulsing routine where you could give voltage pulses to move the molecule over much longer distances. So you could move the molecule over 10 nanometers before you have to image again. Now the car is only about 1 nanometer by about 0.5 nanometers, so the nano car is quite small. But they could go about 10 nanometers without having to re-image, because they just keep getting voltage pulses without re-imaging, and then after about 10 voltage pulses, then they re-image, and so that allowed us to move very quickly. The Swiss also had a very interesting pulsing sequence where they would image, and then all of a sudden give a voltage pulse during the imaging scan. So again, you have to have two things in order to succeed in this race. So you have to have a fast nanocar, and you have to have a proper imaging sequence that's going to allow you to drive the car very fast. So we couple those two things together, and inherently our car was much faster than the Swiss car, and much faster than many other cars in the race.
You have an idea about the cost of this nano car?
Yeah, I guess the cost of the nano car is maybe $1 nano.
Yeah.
So if you just want to buy one car, it's very, very cheap. And so you can build a lot of them at a very low price. they're very expensive, maybe $1 or less per nano car, because we build so many at a time since we use chemical methods to build them.
But you don't put inside the cost the time that your team work in this, the resource that you made.
Right, we don't put that time in. If we were just to start today to build nano cars, we could sell them for about $1 each. But the thing is, if we sold 10 milligrams, might cost several $1,000s. But again, we're selling you billions and billions of nano cars at that point. So the price per car is very low, but yes, we do have a lot of expertise that went before us that we spent on to be able to build it. So if you look at our real cost, since the time we've been working on these for 20 years, since 1998 when we started working on these, almost 20 years now, I would say probably we've spent probably $3 to $4 million just on the synthetic side, probably maybe $4 million just on the synthesis side. And the Austrian group on the imaging side, they've been imaging our nanocars for about 5 years, and they've probably spent several $1 million in equipment. So the real cost of all the technology that went before us as we were building these is actually quite much higher than what I had said.
And you think that it is very difficult to be a driver for the nano car?
Well, it's difficult to figure out the driving sequence. So the sequence is very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think in the near future, how is the application that you imagine for these things?
Right. So we're now building not just nano cars, but other nano machines that need in solution. You know, for many years I didn't think that these were going to be good for biological application because they're much, much smaller than a cell, than a cell that makes up our body. But now what we've shown is we can use these, we take the same motor, and on the motor we put fluorophores, things that are going to light up. We don't worry about the wheels, and we're using them in solution. We've shown that we can propel them in solution, but more importantly than that, we can take a nano machine and we can have them directed towards cells and interact with cells, and we hope to publish that very soon. And that should come out in a month or so, where we're able to use these to interact with cells, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to do it therapeutically. So we hope to tell the world about that very soon through a publication that will come out early next month, early in September, in the journal Nature. We'll have a paper on this coming out, so I can't give you too many details prior to that publication, but it's really we're taking the nano machines and having them interact with cells, and it's really quite fascinating, and it's going to lay the groundwork, we hope, for using these in vivo, for using these in medicine to treat disease, because we can use the nano machines to kill cells, or we can use the nano machines to deliver drugs to cells. So if you have cancer cells, you want them dead. If you have good cells, you want to be able to deliver species to them, for example. So that's what we hope to be able to do.
So you have in the future nanocars inside our body.
That is the hope. That is the hope. We still have a lot of work to do. We will have to check the toxicity issues and these sorts of things, but that is the hope.
Yeah. So, and the energy for the nanocar, what you can tell for us?
Right. So right now we are using light for the energy source. We built several different types of cars. For the nanocars, like I said, we have chemical ones where it blows a polymer out one side, another one that blows small molecules out to push it along. But primarily for the energy source, we'll use light to drive it along. Now in that nanocar race, they wouldn't even let us use our motorized nanocars. We just had to use an electric field gradient from the tip. So in other words, you put the tip in front of it, and it follows the tip, sort of like with a static charge toward the tip. But in the future, we'll use our motorized ones, and there you just use light as the power source to power the nanocars. So you can use different wavelengths of light depending on what type of motor you have.
And the different lights is different velocity for the nanocars?
Well, it could be. So what you would do is you'd probably use the same wavelength for a particular motor, but if you want to change the velocity, you would pulse the light, and you'd keep it off more often, and then the car would move slower. If you use a high flux light and a continuous wave light, then the nanocar is constantly getting exposure and it's going to go the fastest. If you use a pulse light, you can just change the pulse duration, and that would change the speed at which this would go.
And you can determine how much time one nanocar can survive.
Yes. How much time can a nanocar survive? That's an interesting point. If you're using light activation, there's always the possibility that the light itself degrades the nanocar and destroys it. So that's certainly a possibility. But the way we get around this is we have so many nanocars working for us. You have large numbers of them. So one nanocar, the problem is when you're imaging a nanocar, it's the imaging that can be hard on a nanocar. In other words, if you're imaging using fluorescent light, it's the light detection itself, the excitation and then detection, the excitation primarily, that makes the nanocar a little less stable. So if you don't look at it, if you don't image it, it's going to last much longer. But in their desire to image these, it cuts their life short. It's the same with the STM tip. The STM tip is riding over a molecule all the time, and so it has the possibility of either hitting the molecule or pulling an atom out or injecting an electron into it. And so using the techniques that we use to image them, to see them, that is what destroys the nanocars and shortens their lifetime, not the inherent stability of the nanocars.
So in the future you can plan, I have to have one nanocar inside my body for 10 hours.
Not one nanocar, you have to have billions of nanocars. And we've shown that we can get these to interact with cells on a matter of a minute. So they don't have to be in the body very long, even just 1 minute, and we can probably do the work that we need to do. So it doesn't have to be in the body very long, and we will build in mechanisms into these molecules by which they will be oxidized and then ejected from the body.
And you think that we will have in the future some military application for this?
Military applications, that's interesting. We've made what we call nanosubmarines.
Nano-submarines. It's the biggest.
Yes, nanosubmarines, and one can certainly think of swarms of nanosubmarines and nanovehicles. The mechanism of action, so they're not going to be able to carry a big gun and shoot it, but you'd have to make them in themselves active so they interact with the body. So if you wanted to militarize them, you could. That's not something we normally think about. In my group, we normally think about using these medically and making them friendly to the body, not to make them attacking the body. So that's going to have to be another person's work, probably.
Yeah. So with the National Nanotechnology Initiative from USA, you think that with these actions from NI was important to develop your kind of research in nanocar?
Oh, it did. It was definitely very, very important for this because the NNI billions of dollars to nanotechnology research. Starting in around 1999, they were getting it going, and then I think the first infusion of money was in around 2000 or 2001. And so the NNI has been very important, funded directly a lot of the science that was good for underpinning this project. So the NNI is tremendous, and the hope is that we have other programs like the NNI. They will put in billions of dollars to stimulate research in the United States to do projects like this.
And about the regulation, you think that we will need some regulation about nanocars?
Yeah, I think we need regulations in general about nanotechnology, and the field of nanotechnology is like no other field. In other words, we are exploring the use of exploring the toxicity of nano right from the beginning. So as we make things, we explore the toxicity. And we don't want to wait for there to be troubles before we start exploring the toxicity issues of this nanocar, of the nanocars. And so nanotechnology, yeah, you have to be conscious about that, how it would interact with the environment, how it would interact with human life, how it would interact with animals, and this is something that's really important because we want to be good stewards of the environment. And we want to be able to develop drug systems with minimal use of animals, again, to have minimal use there. And that's, so a lot of our work, actually, our initial in vivo work with these systems is we're not even using animals, we're using crustaceans, or we're using very small sea organs, which are worms that are very, very small. You have to look at them under a microscope, or Daphnia, which are, again, the small crustaceans that you can only see under a microscope. This is what we're using for all the initial studies, and then we move up to the vertebrates by going into zebrafish. These are very small fish, about 2 centimeters long. That will be the first vertebrate systems that we're going to get into, and we're going to try to define a lot before we ever have to go up into a mouse model, because we want to minimize the use of animals as best we can.
Yeah, but you think that NNI put the same quantity of the dollars in the research for nanotoxicology?
Yeah, they actually had a lot of funding for nanotoxicology. So every NNI program had a nanotox initiative. So Rice used to have a large center through the National Nanotechnology system through the National Science Foundation, and that was directed, that was a 10-year center. And it started in about 2001 and ran until about 2011. And that was to look at the toxicity issues of nanotechnology. What is the fate of nanomaterials in the environment? In other words, where do they end up? What is the current toxicity of them? Are they airborne? Is it a lung inhalation problem? Is it something that can transport through the skin? So all of these issues were studied and thought out.
And what is, in your opinion, the next bottle to develop your research near future?
Well, the hardest part within nanotechnology is well, a very hard part is the imaging. We can make these now much faster than we can image them, so that still the imaging techniques are far more crude than are the synthesis techniques, because people have been doing organic synthesis for 150 years by design, so we have a big head start. So we can make these. So it's not the synthesis, it is the imaging. We're looking at these, and then probably the biggest bottleneck is the funding. Funding in the U.S. is like funding in many other countries. It's just hard to get funding, so it's the difficulty in getting funding that makes this a difficult project.
Yeah. funding in Brazil is a very, 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 very important problem.
Yes.
So it's our first question for developing new technology or new knowledge.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
And here in Brazil, we have some research about the budget. How
About
to
the-
use the budget in nanotechnology.
I see.
And here I can tell you that 99% is used to produce new knowledge for new process or new products. Only 1% is for new knowledge about the impact or about nanotoxicology.
I see.
So
Well, we,
it's very disbalanced about how is he put the money here in the development of nanotechnology.
right, right. So,
You came to Brazil sometime, no?
I'm sorry?
You came to Brazil sometime?
No, I've never been to Brazil.
No, okay. Maybe he can invite you to come to here.
Maybe so. I don't speak Portuguese though.
No, okay. You can speak English or Spanish.
Okay.
So your contribution for our program was very well, very good. Thank you so much for giving for us your time. I think you have so many compromise. No?
Thank you so much.
This 4 minutes for us was so important.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We are organizing our 15th international seminar. International seminar, nanotechnology, environment, and society. And maybe we will have in the end of November. And the problem of money in Brazil is so extensive, so very, very difficult to have money to make this kind of meeting. Maybe he can invite you by one conference, by internet, or by video conference in the university. I think in Rice University you have access to video conference system.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So I will see this and I send you new email, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.